midwife, child psychiatrist,
Okay.
something along that line.
What are some other things your peers are talking about? Go ahead.
We want to be a social worker for child protective services.
Ooh, okay. We want to talk about all that, all these careers. Anything else? Okay, so let's see. How do you know if your personality will match what you like to do when you grow up? How do you know? How do your peers know? Like, how did you come to this conclusion? Go ahead.
I would say simply just living life, going through and interacting with people and finding out what personality they believe would fit.
Okay. What are some other thoughts about your personality and match? Because listen, there's some people in their careers where their personalities don't match. And they be acting real bogus in their roles. So how do we know? Go ahead.
Some people don't know until they're actually there.
Right, some people really don't know until they're actually there, right? What kind of research have you done regarding the type of career you are interested in, and do you think it has helped you make an informed decision? Well, why would you think researching your career would be important?
So you know what you're getting into.
Right, so you have an idea of what you're getting into, maybe giving you a guidance or a roadmap to where you would possibly want to go. And the reason why I bring this up, because again, our favorite topic for these next couple of weeks have been research. And without research, we wouldn't know what type of character or traits are needed in efforts for certain people to fit in certain roles. Like when you get your job description, it has a list of things that you would be doing because these characteristics and traits are who they are looking for to fulfill these job roles. But without research, we wouldn't know where your personality would match to go with what job. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because eventually we're going to be talking about archetypes and how your personality is meshing with your job and what that looks like, especially when your personality does not match your job, and the kind of harm and trauma that causes not only to you but the people that you might be in contact with. Does that make sense? So go ahead and pass your papers up. You can put them right here on this table. And just to recap of what we've been kind of talking about.
Let me see if there's anything in research. 6 minutes ago. This is in critical condition. Like, don't keep quick with it. Only
Damn,
I think she's so well though, like all these no little thing.
I don't like how this is just listening to us.
It's 2 kids.
That's so sad.
Psychology is the study of human behavior and the mind. So it's easy to imagine that researchers are trying to learn universal truths, but humans come in a lot of different flavors. So we can't make sweeping predictions about all of humanity based on the limited populations that are usually used in psychology research. In fact, many subjects may actually be psychological outliers. So we should be careful about jumping to conclusions about what makes humans tick. See, most research subjects in behavioral sciences, which include psychology, economics, and cognitive science belong to what's called the WEIRD population. Coined by researchers in 2010, WEIRD is an acronym that stands for Western, Educated, Industrialized, Rich, and Democratic. These subgroups are more likely to have the resources and educational systems to support academic research, but it means that the studies that they publish can be really skewed. For example, in 2008, a study of more than 4,000 articles published over 20 years found that around 95% of behavioral science research subjects come from the US, Europe, and English-speaking countries like Australia. But these countries only make up about 12% of the world's population.
So what do you think about that? If they're saying that, remember we had this conversation, that in the US we have the IRB, which is the Internal Review Board, that only allows us to be able to conduct research on certain populations. And a lot of the populations that we cannot conduct research on is the populations that need the most help. Like we cannot conduct research, it's very challenging unless you work in the system to conduct research on foster care children. It's very challenging to conduct research on mental health patients who are in psychiatric wards. It's very challenging to conduct research on another special population, which is who we call the 290s, which are sex offenders and people who are incarcerated. So if it makes it challenging to get to these populations, is the research really like telling us the whole story? Right. And so what this person is sharing with us in this moment is if a lot of the research is coming from a space of where there's bias and there's only English speaking, what does that do for the rest of the population? It makes it hard to account for them, right? It makes it hard to say that, hey, this is also going to work on here, because here's the thing about research. We also have cultural biases, right? So what may happen in one person's culture might not be happening in somebody else's culture. And so if we have what she was saying, the weird thing going on, which is the Western educational and institutionalized, research going on, then how is that going to impact the rest of the world, and how do we look at the rest of the world? Can all of this really apply to different populations? And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because we have theorists who only focused on white males. But yet today, we still use a lot of the information from these theorists. So it's not that the information is completely irrelevant, it's just the real question is, how relevant is it going to be when it comes to other populations, especially if they have these cultural biases? Am I making sense? Do I have any questions, comments, concerns? Okay.
Subjects are from the United States, and more than 2/3 of American psychology research subjects are undergraduate students. So another review in 2010 looked at dozens of studies in the behavioral sciences and concluded something that seems kind of obvious, but it's worth saying. American college students aren't representative of all humans. They're actually a pretty unusual subgroup.
And why do you think college students are able to fill out these inquiries for these experiments and these research studies? I can't hear you. What? That could be one thing. Maybe because you might get extra credit. There's some type of incentive. How about the fact that we have access to you guys? Exactly, we have easy access to you. We don't have access to people at county offices or in private sector without being penalized or having to have some type of great incentive because you're disrupting their workflow.
Like, take the W in weird. As one example, research has found that Western subjects tend to report having higher self-esteem than many non-Western subjects. Some scientists have pointed out that this might just reflect how different cultures value things like modesty. This could affect how people describe themselves, but not how they actually feel. And even within the same country or region, people aren't the same. Just looking at a typical American psychology subject, An undergrad student, compared to most Americans, reveals some differences in self-perception, ethics, and economic decision-making. For instance, researchers compared a bunch of studies on the ultimatum game, which is a financial sharing and decision-making task that was designed for psychology and economics experiments. Specifically, they were looking at the E in the weird acronym to understand how people in college made money decisions in this game and whether those results can be generalized to all people. And they found that undergrads are more likely to offer less money to another person compared to American adults who aren't currently, and may have never been, college students. So even just within the US economy, it's important to recognize that the typical research subject's behavior doesn't really tell you about how the typical person manages money. And education is just part of society. Society-wide traits like industrialization, which is basically a shift from growing food to making goods, has some pretty dramatic effects on psychology too. For example, a number of studies have found that people who speak English and other Indo-European languages tend to use words meaning left or right to describe where things are. In other words, we use egocentric terms and view objects relative to where we are. But it turns
So, egocentricity. What do you think that means, and how do you think that impacts research? Go ahead.
Ego, prideful, kind of have a big head. So egocentric would probably mean that a lot of their viewpoints are from the viewpoint of themselves.
Mhm.
It doesn't have much empathy for other perspectives, outside perspectives.
That's exactly what it is. So if somebody is egocentric, that means that they have an agenda. And if I have an agenda, how do you think that's going to impact the research? The research may be biased, right? So this is, like I said, very interesting to know, because just as much of research that supports one thing is going to be just as much research that supports the opposite. And so when you're doing research, they'll say, we have a null hypothesis. A null hypothesis means that we think that everything across the board is equal. And so the researcher is saying, no, we're going to reject the null hypothesis because everything across the board is not equal. And then they're going to present their information from their perspective in which they want to deliver, so that they can say, hey, this is not equal. This is what's happening. And so it's really interesting, because sometimes they might say, hey, this isn't equal, but then the null hypothesis is really true. No, across the board, this is equal. You didn't give us no new information. So what are you talking about? Am I making sense how that works? So research can be very fascinating and very tricky at the same time.
a way to think of things. People in smaller scale societies tend to speak languages that favor allocentric terms, like behind or above, or even cardinal directions like north or south. This anchors objects in relation to other things or the environment. This is important when it comes to behavioral research because it suggests that this way of thinking is cultural. It's a result of the language we speak and the environment we grew up in. And all this doesn't even begin to cover differences in wealth or political structure either. But the point is, researching outside of the weird bubble is really important because it lets psychologists puzzle out things that do seem to be universally human. Like most people seem to recognize the same facial expressions, meaning specific emotions, like anger and happiness. And we're pretty sure that most people perceive the same colors, even though the amount of names for colors might vary between languages. Now, this isn't to say that weird studies and all the psychology research done so far isn't valuable. It is. It's just important to recognize its limitations. And if we want to learn the most we can about humans, we need to study more different kinds of humans. Because, again, different flavors. Thanks for watching this episode of SciShow Psych. If you want to dive into another example of how our brains might be influenced by our cultures, check out our video about an optical illusion that doesn't work for everyone.
So yeah, so make sure you watch these videos that I post because they do provide a lot of insight to what it is that you're reading as well. And they make things really come, to life about what it is that you are studying. So be sure to check that out. So real quickly, let's go back over this. And the reason why, again, now I'm showing you these biases because we're going to talk about our favorite topic in a second. But first, we got to get there, which we're going to get there by going through our RCC library, right? I know. Got to get there first. Then we got to go to these databases, our favorite thing to do in the world. Then we're gonna start off with this academic 1-file. You guys should be pros at this by now. Then we're gonna go to psychology. And then we're gonna find something. What do we wanna talk about?
Self-control.
Self-control, where did you see that?
On the right, kind of in the middle. Yeah.
This is it, right there. Let's see what this I like about self-control. Oh my goodness, let's talk about it. The relationship between social avoidance, behavioral regulation, and social adjustment among Chinese kindergartens. Let's go down to more. That's more our
Weird.
factors influencing self-control in older patients with atrial fibrillation following radio frequency. That sounds like a lot. Mapping the link between problematic smartphone use, exercise, procrastination, self-control, and network analysis. This sounds kind of like up my alley. Let's look at this. Ooh, my scientist booze. Look, it has what I'm looking for too. Yes. It's got the background, the methods, the results, and a conclusion. So this is definitely something that's right up my alley because it just pops out, right? So let's see what it's talking about. Health risk behaviors such as problematic smartphone use, PSU, and insufficient physical exercise are prevalent among university students. Let's see. This study focused on medical students given that health risk behaviors may impact their health and future career performance. Specifically, the study aimed to explore the relationship between problematic smartphone usage, exercise procrastination, and their shared common risk factor of self-control. Well, now this sounds right up my alley. And let me tell you why. Because I'm working with these high school students in dual enrollment, right? Couldn't believe this was happening to me. I had to have on a video playing while they were doing something somatic, while they're still juggling their smartphones, while they're looking up the information for the somatic information. Am I making sense? So they're on overload, like we're on overload, information overload. Do you think you're really able to retain any of the information I'm sharing with you if you got 5 different things going on? And let's not even talk about y'all gram. Oh yeah, I'm gonna talk about it. See, my gram is good. It's only got the cat fights and the foodie stuff on there. Y'all gram? Y'all got like the BBLs, all the models, all the toxic relationships, the novelas.
You're right.
I know. Because the kids be showing me this stuff. And so, if we're always scrolling on our phones, right? And our stimulation is always moving this fast, what kind of information are you really able to retain? And let's not even talk about impulse control, because that's what they're really talking about, your self-control. How many times in a conversation have you noticed yourself? This is going to be y'all challenge this week. Challenge. I'm going to put it up on the announcements. Challenge. Okay? How many times do you bust out your phone in the middle of a conversation and scroll? The lies we be telling ourselves. Let me tell you how it works. You get out your phone, you be like, girl, Oh, but did you see this week? And then y'all start talking again, and while y'all talking, what you doing? Scrolling. Oh, did you see this? I'm gonna send this to you right now. Meanwhile, your girlfriend or guy friend, whoever, is trying to tell you something. He's like, oh yeah. Oh, it's just my life. I see y'all. It's just my life. Okay. But that's gonna be our challenge this week. How many times do you bust out your phone during a conversation or in between downtime?
Conversation.
Okay. That's why we said downtime.
Yeah, that's
You just have a little more self-control than some of us. You know, I'm jealous.
Only in that regard.
Look at my jealous eyes.
Only in that regard.
Okay. Because we do it. Like, especially if somebody's like, oh, have you seen? And then what do you first do? You pull out your phone. Let me Google it. Isn't that what we do? Your friends say, have you seen? Then you pull out your phone and you're like, oh, yeah. Okay, it's just my life. Well, let me tell you, because of these problematic smartphones, and maybe this is just my life too, I'm gonna just snitch on myself. I'm at the gym. And what am I doing? Scrolling. While I'm sitting down doing my squat machine. And then what does somebody do? Excuse me, ma'am, how long are you gonna be on the squat machine? And I'm thinking, like, as long as my scroll is going on. But am I really exercising if I'm too busy scrolling?
No.
And I'm just telling on myself. I'm not going to tell on everybody else at the gym. Who be like, you know, taking up the times on the machines because they be scrolling too. So are we really exercising? We just lying to ourselves. And then it goes back to self-control. Does this make sense? So this article would be fascinating for me particularly. Am I making sense? Okay, so they tell us, this is our sample population, 917, that's the N. 917 undergraduate students, right? With the sub-age of about 19 years old, give or take 1 or 2 years. 63% of the population were females. And they completed the smartphone addiction scale, short version, procrastination and exercise scale, and a brief self-control scale. Network analysis was used to examine the association between the problematic smartphone use, exercise, procrastination, and self-control. So in this short snippet, they were good. They told you what our methods were, they told you how many people participated, and the majority of the people who they were. So right off the top, this is something that I might be interested in because it's short, sweet, and I know what they're trying to tell me. Am I making sense? Okay, so it says the results. The results were that the problematic smartphone usage, exercise, procrastination, and self-control formed a stable network structure and were significantly correlated. So they're not saying that like this caused this, but they're saying that it was a possibility that these things go hand in hand. And let me tell you why. And they will tell you that in the rest of the article. Does that make sense? So, again, why would you think an article like this is important for someone like us? Okay, it's good for research. Why else do you think we need to learn about something like this? I swear it says it right here. What is it telling us?
That targeting self-control may effectively reduce PSU and exercise procrastination behaviors while promoting adherence to healthy behaviors among medical students.
Thank you. We want to have healthy behaviors, right? And so, if we are going to be going into this medical field, right, and they're telling us, hey, we have some research that's pretty alarming. Your cell phone usage is going to hinder you from being the most healthiest version of the person that you're going to be, and you're becoming a doctor. Do you really think I want you up in my face? Just saying. Do you think you're giving your best of yourself if you're too busy on your cell phone and you lack exercise and you're procrastinating and you're not even living your best healthy life? I don't want you trying to take care of me and you don't even live your best healthy life. What's going on? Make it make sense, right? So if you want to live your best healthy life, the way we do that is through research and knowledge. And with knowledge, that comes information and power. And you have an opportunity to empower yourself by now understanding that it's not healthy to always be on our phone. So maybe just maybe we might need to put some restrictions, some coping skills with that. Like some timers and things of that nature so that we can be present. Because it would suck for you to go to the hospital and you don't have a very efficient doctor because they spent a lot of their time on their social media. Am I making sense? Okay. So that's pretty much how that works. Do we have any questions about our research paper and how to look for an article and the objective? Again, you want to be able to read about a paragraph, write a couple of sentences, okay? So that you're writing your paper along the way and you don't get lost in the paper. So no getting lost in the sauce. You already know where you're at. You can navigate successfully and succinctly. Okay, so let's see what else we want to talk about. Alright, so I think I'm gonna give you guys a presentation real quick. So, again, my objective is to really set you up for success. Let me see if this is the one I wanted. I had another presentation that we did. So. What's something that's been good so far coming to RCC? Go ahead. Meeting new people. What else? Go ahead.
Just being a nice change of pace.
A nice change of pace. How many of you, this is your first year at a college? Okay. So how has this been for you? Is it challenging? Are you feeling anxious? Is it kind of hard to adjust between the work life and the student life? Definitely so, huh? It can be a challenge. Okay. Well, the good thing is you guys are making it. You guys are showing up and showing out. So that's good. And so let me tell you guys something. That here around the world, we have 1 in 8 people who will experience a mental health disorder. And suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death among your population. So the reason why I share this is because, again, by having this research and this knowledge, what do you think we're capable of doing by sharing this information with you? Why do you think it's important to know this about your population? Go ahead.
Preventing suicides.
Excuse me?
Preventing suicides.
Okay, we want to prevent some suicides, What else? Go ahead.
Ask for help.
Ask for help, definitely. And the reason why is because you guys have just admitted it too. It's hard to have a work-life balance. And without people helping you with the proper coping skills, and we're not asking for help, which is a stigma in a lot of our cultures, it makes it very difficult. So a lot of the times, the only way out we see is through suicide or taking our own, our own lives. And because we know that, my thing is like, how do we help prevent that? Well, one of the ways we help prevent that is by really showing you how to give yourself grace and really showing you how to manage your time well, so that you don't feel like you have all these things to do at one time. Because a lot of the times, especially if we're taking 12 units, which is 4 classes, and we're working anywhere from part-time to full-time, and we still have obligations to our family, that's a lot of overwhelming. So how do we manage that? That's a lot of anxiety. And then what do we tend to do? We tend to catastrophize things. That means we're blowing things out of proportion and making them bigger than what they are in our minds. Or we make this really, really long list of things for us to do. Okay, so it's just my life. I'm always snitching on myself. I see it, right? So now that we know this, one of the things that we can do is we can identify what is the big picture. What's the motivation behind your big picture? So when you are able to understand why it is that you're doing what it is that you're doing, it gives you the opportunity to create motivation to get to that goal. Am I making sense? So earlier and today I asked you, what do you want to do when you grow up? Some people were like, oh, I want to be social workers. I want to be psychiatrists. Well, now that we know that we have that bigger picture, we have to understand, just like in our very first presentation, there's going to be lots of obstacles and challenges. But do we let that stop us to get to where we need to be? No, because now we know what our bigger picture is. And you can't get to where you want to be without fighting through it. Like, that's just life. Nobody became a millionaire overnight just because they were like, hey, I want to be a millionaire. No, they did some things. Whether they snatched it or worked hard for it, they had to do something. And they had that bigger picture in mind. So that's what kept them going. Does that make sense? So always consider your bigger picture. And so here's some things that you want to be able to understand about yourself too. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Where are the areas that I can improve in? So basically, what's your capacity? Okay? When we understand our capacity, that puts a lot of things in perspective. So let me give you an example. I don't have a lot of capacity for, we'll say this kindly, I have very little tolerance for a lot of things. And let me tell you, my body will tell me that I have no tolerance before my mind tells me I have no tolerance. And I've had to learn this about myself. So now my body will say, hey, Cherisse, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna break out in hives because you didn't wanna acknowledge your capacity. Go lay your butt down somewhere now for the next 5 days until these hives heal. Because I didn't wanna know my capacity. So your body will tell you what's up. And you thinking like, oh, my stomach hurts. No, what's happening is your anxiety is getting the best of you, and now you got knots in your stomach, literally. Now you got irritable bowel movement, and you can't use the bathroom, literally. Because the capacity of what you're dealing with is not working for you, and your body is trying to tell you, hey, give yourself some grace. So you gotta listen to your body, because that's what's gonna tell you what your capacity is to do what it is that you do. If not, your body gonna sit you down for you. Am I making sense? So we have to be honest with ourselves and manage these expectations. Be honest with yourself about what you're capable of. Set realistic timelines, recognize and acknowledge the potential limitations. You can't do everything. You can't be there for everyone. So you have to pick and choose. And people think that when you have boundaries, boundaries are meant for the other person. No, my scientist friends, boundaries are meant to save you. That's what boundaries are for. So if I have a boundary that I'm not talking after 8 o'clock, I'm not telling my friends, hey, don't call me after 8. I mean, you can, but you're still gonna have those friends who are gonna test it. And then what you gonna do, cuss them out? I don't have to call me after 8. No, it's your boundary. Just set your alarm. It's 8 o'clock, put on your little notification, and you don't answer your phone after 8. You control you, not your friends. They don't run you. Because after 8, what are some realistic expectations? It's time to bring it down a notch. It's probably time for, because after 8 o'clock, for reals, folks, what's happening after 8 o'clock? Are you really about to focus on your work? Or are you just like me trying to veg out and eat and don't bother me? Because I got to get ready for work and take this shower and put these kids down. And let me tell you, get all this stuff together for tomorrow. Right? So you have to have these real expectations and the timelines. Just like I told you guys, the module opens up on Monday and I expect your work by Friday. That's real expectations. I'm not expecting you to get all the work done in one day. I'm not expecting you to get all the work done in 3 days. It might take all 4 days. It might take all 5 days. And even if it's late, who cares? You got it done. Am I making sense? And so again, the biggest issue that we have is we feel like we don't need help. No, we need help. Everybody needs help. Never be afraid to ask questions, because this is what's going to get you fed all the time, is by asking questions. It's going to get you to where you need to be. If you're not asking questions, you're not networking. You're not networking, you ain't getting nowhere. So you got to ask questions. Communicate. Hey, I thought I heard you when you said this. Did I hear this correctly? It's okay to clarify. Oh, I didn't? Well, what were you talking about? What were your expectations? What did you mean by that? You know, be patient with things. Things are not, let me tell you, my biggest pet peeve is coming out of my apartments and everybody is speeding. You knew damn well every day you gotta be at work at 8 o'clock. Why are you leaving your house at 7:55 and honking the horn at everybody to get out your way? No, you know you gotta take time to get to work. And then you got the nerve to have road rage? What? That's not our problem that you waking up 5 minutes till it's time for you to go. That's not our problem. But guess what? I still got to be patient with that person because I'm not trying to get hit. And you still got to be patient with yourself because you knew what you was doing was wrong. Be patient. You know, hope for the best and be okay for challenges because that's an opportunity to grow. What is my lesson in all of this? If the thing didn't go the way that you hoped it did, well, what's my lesson? What could I have done better? Where was my error? Maybe this wasn't for me. Maybe this wasn't for me to do. Or maybe it is, but how do I switch it up? So by, being okay with challenges, you're going to learn to see things from a different perspective, especially when you're looking for the lesson in it. Because then you're not going to be too disappointed in what's happening. So, we always want to examine what's working and what's not working. Are your actions and activities meeting your goals? How can you pivot your challenges to meet the bigger picture? Because you're going to always have all these obstacles. But as long as you have the bigger picture in mind, that's going to be what's going to be your foundation to keep you going and making different steps. And you're going to have to pivot a lot. There is no straight path to where you want to go. There might be straight, bigger steps, but there still is no straight path, if that makes sense. So yeah, we may start here at RCC. We may transfer to a 4-year college. And from there, we may go on to get our master's. And from there, we may go on to get our doctorate. But does that mean that everybody's path is going to be the same way? No, we're all going to have different careers. So this is how you manage your expectations. You need to be specific. By being specific, you're gonna save a lot of time. Time is a commodity you cannot get back. So if you really want to be more manageable in your day-to-day life, be specific about your everyday goals. Be specific about what your 5-year plan is, okay? Make sure they're measurable, meaning that you can knock these things out. If I do X, Y, and Z, is it going to get me X, Y, and Z? Because again, you're not gonna be able to get your time back, okay? And is it attainable? We're not setting these big, great expectations. No, today I get to wake up, I'm gonna go eat, I'm gonna do my homework, and I'm gonna get to this job, and I'm gonna be there for 5 hours, and I'm gonna come home, and I'm gonna do this. These are all attainable things. This is your everyday thing, and then you might throw one more thing in there. Ooh, fix my resume. But we're not adding 500 things that after fix my resume. Am I making sense? Because you wanna keep it simple for yourself. You know, is it realistic? Are you able to get this string of long things done, or are you just adding more and more unrealistic things to your list? Because we tend to do that. We tend to put 500 things on our plate knowing that we're only gonna get 3 of them done. You know, keep it real with yourself. And what's the time bound? How much time do you wanna spend on a specific activity? Like, okay, I got my homework. I only wanna spend 3 hours today on this homework between these 2 classes, because I gotta spend 6 hours at work. Am I making sense? So when you have the plan, which is called the SMART, it makes it that much more easier to manage going to school. It makes it easier to manage and balance how you're gonna meet your expectations for work and how you're gonna meet your expectations for your family life. Because now you have a foundation of what to do. So here are some strategies that I want to share with you in order to reduce your anxiety, especially when we're going through all that we're going through. So are you checking in with yourself? Because again, if you don't check in with yourself, your body will check in for you and will sit you down in a heartbeat. And then that's going to be a whole nother whirlwind of problems. So if you can control your body right now, that's going to be your best asset to do any and everything you're going to do in life. Okay, so check in with yourself regularly, okay? Are you meeting your safety needs? You know, are you getting your love? Because that's important too. Are you hanging out with people who are sharing and inputting positive things into your life? Not the negative Nancys, the Debbie Downers, who are, you know, we call them energy vampires. Don't hang out with them, because that's not gonna help you get to where you need to be. And you know who your energy vampires are. Oh my gosh, let me tell you what happened to me today. Oh, it's just my life? Y'all know who they are. All right, so make sure you're taking care of yourself. How to self-soothe. Remember, your body tells you what you need. So you have to pay attention to that. Are you eating healthy snacks on the go? You know, people don't realize it, but these apples and bananas and these carrots, they're your best friends on the go. They stop these headaches. They stop these cramps. You know, they help you focus. So these are simple, easy snacks you can carry that aren't gonna get all bad on you. Are you acknowledging moments in your week that you did something good? Because we spend so much time on talking negatively to ourselves. Oh, you missed this. Oh, you didn't do that. Oh, you forgot to do this. But what about all the good stuff you were able to accomplish? What about those things? They need to be highlighted too. Because those are the things that build up your self-esteem, is when you're able to see what you're able to accomplish. Oh, I was able to do this. Okay, Cherisse, you are kind of good. I see you, girl. Okay. You know, have you taken the time to focus on things in nature? And what are you grateful for? Because there's some people who couldn't even get out the bed, who can't even hear the birds, who will never be able to put their feet on the ground. So what are you doing for yourself to show appreciation for being present in the moments that you have? That's really big in meditating. That's really big on self-soothing and bringing you down a notch. So again, something else you guys can do is you can set up some affirmations around your house. You know, I'm capable of doing this. Today's gonna be a great day. Today, favor is chasing after me. Today, I'm capable of doing these things. When you start to say these things to yourself every day, guess what you're attracting? You're attracting the energy that you need. Not every day is gonna be perfect, but you know how to work your way out of an imperfect situation because that's just temporary. Your affirmations are not temporary. They're who you are and who you're striving to be. So you want to set yourself up with success by telling yourself good things about yourself. Stretching is so important. This oxygen needs to move around your body. Okay? Organizing your space. It's hard to get anything done when your space is looking chaotic. All right? Making sure you give yourself grace and mercy and proper rest. These are all things that we can do for ourselves. Again, self-soothing that are going to help reduce anxiety, especially among the population which you guys are in, because you're doing a lot. So don't ever be afraid to give these things to yourself. So, here's the thing. You guys have some challenges this week. One challenge is to see how many times you're taking out your phone during your downtime. The second challenge is, what are you gonna do in place of your phone when you're taking it out during your downtime? So I'm gonna put that in our discussion on the announcements because that's gonna be your challenge this week. And we're gonna talk about why that's so important for you next week when we see this chapter 3. And in chapter 3, we're gonna be talking about sleep, drugs, and more fun stuff. So before I let you go, how do we feel about our presentation? Go ahead.
Can you put it on canvas?
I guess I'll share.
It'll help me like stay accountable.
I guess. Any other thoughts? We enjoyed the slideshow. It's helpful. I guess I'll put it up. All right, thanks for putting up with me.